I'm going to talk about dynamic rendering components. At first I had something that was polymorphic, and I had like, if it's this type, then render this component, and if it's that type, then render that component, and that's like not cool. So I came up with a similar problem when I wanted to do things in a model. So I had this edit, for example, I had this edit person thing, and I just want to pop it up on the screen and quickly edit and then get rid of the model again. And then, you could make an edit model component and then bootstrap the component into that model component, but then you have to make like 10 models for every, or one model for every component, and that's also a hassle. So what I want is like call a function that opens a model with the component name and some attributes, and then, well, I get a pop-up of a model and it just works. In Ember 1.11 there will be a component helper, which you can give a component name and it will render your component. But the problem with that is that you can't give a variable amount of properties or whatever. It still has to be, the properties you bind still have to be in the template. So my real problem is I want to do something like this that has my properties to bind, these properties, and then this will be an object with properties, and all those properties on that object should be just bound to the component. So I just build it. It's a very simple thing right now. It probably has a lot of edge cases that it doesn't support, and will probably break like 10 times if new updates come out. But I hope that people can help me with that. That people can want to contribute to that. So I already created a repo for it, but I haven't put in the source code yet because, well, I was working on this like today and yesterday. So I'll try to get it up on the repo tomorrow. So if you're interested in this, because I think more people will be, because, well, it's like you can render any component anywhere, whenever you want, with any attributes you want, and that's like very powerful stuff. So I hope some people want to help me, and that's pretty much what I had. So if there are any questions, then
I'm curious, what are the big challenges here?
Bindings. Bindings are the big problem, because you have like a really generic thing, and throwing around bindings is pretty declarative, and making that really generic is something I found really hard to do. So what I do now is like is pass an object, but that object doesn't bind back to the original source. So if I change it, then this component can listen to that changes really well, if it was a string or something like that. So that's a few challenges I have. So, and it's really hacky code, but right now I really would like a better solution. It's really looking into the hash it gives to the helper, and then translates a binding, looks up a binding, and then what's behind it, and then copies the properties of that to an object, and then makes a view and everything. That's really hacky.
But you said it works, right?
It works right now for me.
Okay.
But I want to make it work for everyone.
Cool.
Yeah.
And have you posted on like the discussion board to get some input on how to implement this, or are you just
I've looked at some ember-cli add-ons. There's one that does this, but not doing the attributes. I've looked in the source of the new component helper, how they do it. I've been on the Ember IRC, but I haven't been on the discussion boards yet.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you answered my question. I was curious, yeah, how you went about sort of doing the research for figuring out how to actually implement this.
Yeah, well, before this we used ember-cli dynamic component, which is an add-on, which will be deprecated in a few weeks for the ones that are going to upgrade to 1.11. But what I wanted is like dynamic attributes, and that's really the thing I want to do, and that's something that isn't really possible in handlebars yet. That you can say, well, this object of attribute should be bound to the whole thing.
I'm not precisely following the requirements, but could you use like a sub-expression helper, like query params thing works?
Well, basically, this object, the properties of this, so person, so if I go to this, then it will, you could read this as added person. A person is the person in that object, and that's what I want to achieve. That you don't have to write person is person, but that it's magically bound to the component.
So you wanna like replace the explicit list of things you're saying there with with one key value object that does the same thing.
So I want to go from having to declare this, so then I want to have this be a variable and the list of these things be a variable.
Okay.
That's what I want to achieve.
If you wrote a custom helper that would wrap over the component helper, then you could potentially maybe extract the object that you passed in there.
That's what I'm doing right now. I pick up the object, which is the binding,
and then call the parent, the other helper.
And then I call the other helper. Yes.
That should work.
Well, I have a working version.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
I thought it would break, but I didn't see why.
Yeah, it will break in new versions because of the way the new HTML bars bind and things like that.
But if it's a thin wrapper, and basically what you need to achieve is that you call the parent helper with the syntax as if it was called with the expanded list.
Yeah.
Are they going to significantly change the way they do that? Like the hash types and the
well, they introduced stream bindings.
Oh yeah.
Those are something that blow my mind. So that's well, I have a really simple, but I predicted it's going to break. I don't know if it's going to break.
Yeah, then it's probably will break.
Yeah. So what I want to achieve is that more people use it, and then people see things that don't work, and then we can fix it together instead of I have to maintain it on my own. Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's so that's what I had to tell and show.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool.